Every 4 years, the World Cup convinces billions of people that football is the beautiful game. We remember impossible goals, legendary celebrations, and heroes becoming immortal. But history tells a much darker story. Because behind the trophies, there are dictators, political cover-ups, Cold War rivalries, disappearances, corruption, and deaths that had absolutely nothing to do with the final whistle. Some of these stories changed countries, some destroyed lives, and one of them may have decided an entire World Cup. These are the 10 darkest World Cup stories ever connected to football, and somehow, most fans have never heard them. Number 10. The trophy that vanished forever. The World Cup's original prize wasn't always the trophy we know today. Before the current design, there was the Jules Rimet Trophy, the trophy every nation dreamed of lifting. It survived World War II. It survived dictators. It survived decades of football history. Then, it disappeared. In 1983, the trophy was stolen from the Brazilian Football Confederation headquarters. There were no dramatic recoveries, no anonymous return, no miraculous discovery decades later. Most investigators believe it was melted down for its gold, meaning football's most iconic prize. The symbol of every World Cup before 1974 may no longer exist anywhere on Earth. The greatest trophy in football, reduced to scrap metal. But missing gold wasn't the only thing politics would steal from football. Number 9. The own goal that ended in murder. Football fans understand making mistakes, missed penalties, own goals, bad games. They happen. But in 1994, one mistake became a death sentence. Colombia entered the World Cup as genuine contenders. Then defender Andres Escobar accidentally redirected the ball into his own net against the United States. Colombia crashed out. Escobar returned home expecting criticism. Instead, he was shot to death outside a nightclub. Reports stated the killer mocked him by shouting, "Goal," after every shot fired. Whether driven by gambling losses, organized crime, or a combination of both, the message shocked the football world. A single mistake on the pitch followed a player all the way home. No World Cup loss should ever end like that. Yet somehow, it wasn't the darkest tragedy connected to the tournament. Number 8. The World Cup that cleaned up a city. When Brazil hosted the 2014 World Cup, the world expected celebration, new stadiums, tourists, national pride. But human rights organizations raised disturbing allegations. According to multiple reports and advocacy groups, local authorities dramatically intensified operations to remove homeless populations from areas tourists would see. Even darker were long-standing allegations that vulnerable street children disappeared or suffered abuse during security crackdowns tied to major international events. The exact scope of these claims remains disputed, and many allegations were never fully proven in court. But one thing wasn't disputed. Brazil spent billions preparing for the World Cup. While protests erupted across the country over poverty, policing, and public spending, the image shown to the world looked beautiful. Many Brazilians argued the reality behind the cameras looked very different. And that wasn't the first time a host nation carefully managed appearances. Number 7. The match played inside a place of terror. Chile. General Augusto Pinochet had just seized power. Thousands were arrested. Many were imprisoned inside Santiago National Stadium, the same stadium where football matches had once been celebrated. Except now, the stands overlooked torture. Cells beneath the stadium held political prisoners. Many never came out alive. Weeks later, FIFA insisted a World Cup qualifier be played there. Chile versus the Soviet Union. The Soviets refused. They would not play football on ground where civilians had recently been imprisoned, tortured, and killed. FIFA refused to relocate the match. So on game day, only Chile appeared. 11 players passed the ball around, without an opponent, then scored, into an empty goal. The referee blew the final whistle. Official result: Chile 3. Soviet Union 0. One of football's strangest victories, played in complete silence, inside a stadium haunted by recent atrocities. But dictators were only getting started. Number 6. Mussolini's World Cup. Long before modern sports washing became a phrase, Benito Mussolini understood football's propaganda power. Italy hosted the 1934 World Cup. Winning wasn't simply important, it was political. Historians have documented that Mussolini's regime exercised extraordinary influence around the tournament, and allegations have long surrounded referee appointments and pressure placed on officials before crucial matches. Some referees even met with Mussolini himself. Italian players saluted the fascist leader before kickoff. Every victory became another victory for the regime. Italy lifted the trophy, exactly as the dictator wanted. Whether every controversial decision was manipulated remains debated, but the political pressure surrounding that tournament has never disappeared from football history. And another dictatorship would later copy the formula. Only this time, the accusations became even bigger. Number 5. Argentina's suspicious miracle. The 1978 World Cup was supposed to unite Argentina. Instead, it became one of history's most controversial tournaments. The country was ruled by Jorge Vidila's military dictatorship. Thousands of political opponents had disappeared. Yet television cameras showed cheering fans, celebrating football. Then came Argentina versus Peru. Argentina needed to win by 4 goals just to reach the final. Instead, they won 6-0. Almost immediately, questions exploded. For decades, historians and journalists have pointed to allegations that Peru received political and economic incentives, including reports involving grain shipments and financial concessions. No definitive proof has ever resolved the controversy, but the result transformed the tournament. Argentina reached the final, won the World Cup, and dictator Jorge Videla proudly celebrated before the entire world. Football became the perfect political advertisement, but Cold War politics would soon influence another unforgettable World Cup match. Number 4. The Frankfurt Water Fight. The 1974 World Cup should have been Poland's crowning moment. They had one of the greatest generations in their history. Fast, fearless, nearly unstoppable. Standing between them and the final was West Germany. Then, the rain came. Hours before kickoff in Frankfurt, the pitch became flooded. Large sections were covered in standing water. Poland's quick passing game completely fell apart. West Germany, better suited to the conditions, won 1-0. The match became known as the Water Fight. To this day, many Polish supporters believe the field should never have been played on. Some have even argued the decision to continue benefited the host nation during one of the Cold War's most politically charged tournaments. There is no evidence the flooding was deliberately engineered, but the controversy surrounding the decision has endured for decades. And speaking of players whose careers changed forever. Number 3. Johan Cruyff's secret. Why would the best player in the world skip the World Cup? For years, nobody knew. Johan Cruyff shocked football by missing the 1978 tournament. Rumors spread everywhere. Money, politics, arguments. The real reason wouldn't emerge until decades later. Cruyff revealed that armed men invaded his home. He, his wife, and his children were held at gunpoint. The trauma completely changed him. Football suddenly felt meaningless. He walked away from the World Cup. One of the greatest players ever. Didn't miss football because of injury. He missed it because survival became more important than trophies. But before we reach number 1, there are a few modern controversies that continue to reshape the World Cup today. Well, Johan Cruyff walked away from football because he feared for his family's safety. His story was deeply personal. But our next story isn't about one player. It's about an entire tournament. One that dazzled the world with breathtaking stadiums, while raising uncomfortable questions about the human cost of building them. Number 2, the $200 billion World Cup. The 2022 World Cup wasn't just built, it was engineered on a staggering scale. Roughly $200 billion, 7 new stadiums, a brand new metro system, highways, hotels, and an entire city. Lusail, all completed in little more than a decade. But behind the glass skylines and opening ceremony stood an army of about 2 million migrant workers, many from Nepal, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Kenya, and other countries. For many, the dream of earning a better life became something very different. Under Qatar's kafala sponsorship system, a worker's legal status was tied to a single employer. Human rights organizations documented cases in which employers confiscated passports, withheld wages, or otherwise restricted workers' ability to leave abusive jobs. Workers who had borrowed heavily to secure employment often had few realistic options. Even before arriving, many had already fallen into debt. Recruitment agents allegedly charged illegal fees ranging from $1,000 to $4,300 to pay them. Workers took out high-interest loans, months, sometimes years, were spent simply trying to escape debt. Then came the heat. Summer temperatures regularly climbed above 45 degrees Celsius. Investigations found thousands of sudden deaths among migrant workers over the years after Qatar was awarded the tournament. A widely cited Guardian investigation reported more than 6,500 deaths involving migrant workers from 5 South Asian countries between 2010 and 2020. Qatari officials and FIFA disputed using that figure as a measure of World Cup construction deaths, noting that it covered all causes of death within those populations over the period and was not limited to stadium projects. Tournament organizers reported a far smaller number of work-related deaths directly linked to stadium construction. Human rights groups and medical researchers also questioned why many deaths of young, previously healthy workers were recorded as natural causes or acute heart failure, arguing that heat stress was often insufficiently investigated. Facing intense international pressure, Qatar introduced labor reforms. Some restrictions on changing jobs were eased. A minimum wage was introduced. New wage protection measures were announced. Supporters called them significant progress. Critics argued enforcement remained inconsistent, with continued reports of wage theft, retaliation, and barriers faced by some workers seeking justice after the tournament. After the final whistle, the cameras left. But for many workers and grieving families, the struggle didn't. Human rights organizations urged FIFA and Qatari authorities to establish a comprehensive compensation fund for affected workers and families. That broader remedy fund never materialized. The stadium lights eventually went dark. The debate over the tournament's human cost did not. Before we go on to number 1, we review the honorable mentions. Modern FIFA, modern questions. The controversies never truly ended. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar became overshadowed by scrutiny over the treatment of migrant workers who helped build tournament infrastructure. Human rights organizations reported thousands of worker deaths from all causes during the construction era, while experts continued to debate exactly how many were directly linked to World Cup projects. The conditions and labor protections became the focus of worldwide criticism. Then came the expanded 2026 World Cup. More teams, more matches, more commercial opportunities. Supporters welcomed the inclusivity. Critics questioned whether football was becoming more about revenue than competition. Then FIFA announced something unprecedented. The 2030 World Cup would span multiple continents, with opening matches in South America before the tournament shifted to Europe and Africa. Supporters called it historic. Critics argued it also cleared the path for Saudi Arabia to host the 2034 tournament with no competing bids, whether viewed as innovation or geopolitics. Many fans believe football is becoming increasingly shaped by decisions made far away from the pitch. But even those controversies don't compare to our final story. If this showed how the world's biggest football tournament could become entangled with global politics and human rights, our final story goes even further. Because history reveals a moment when the World Cup wasn't just accused of hiding suffering. It became part of a dictator's campaign to reshape how the entire world saw his regime. Number 1. The World Cup that helped hide a dictatorship. People often say sports should stay out of politics. History says otherwise, because some of the darkest chapters in World Cup history weren't accidents. They were opportunities. Opportunities for governments to reshape their image, to distract the public, to influence international opinion, whether it was Mussolini, Badilla, Pinochet, or modern governments seeking global prestige. Football repeatedly became something far bigger than sport. That's what makes these stories so disturbing. The World Cup isn't just a competition. It's one of the most powerful stages on Earth. And throughout history, some of the world's most powerful people have understood that before anyone else. So the next time you watch players lifting the trophy, remember this. The biggest story of the World Cup has never only been what happened on the pitch.
Well, those were the top 10 darkest FIFA World Cup stories. Hope you enjoyed the video. Just want to say RIP to all the teams that have already been eliminated. Especially RIP to my goats Japan, Germany, Congo, and I guess South Africa too. But massive props to Cabo Verde for reaching a flow state against Argentina. They locked on, Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories. And comment down below for any other video ideas. Or any other Dark World Cup stories you've heard about. Alright then, I'll see y'all in the next one then. Peace!